Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard. Today, we're going to be talking about the reality of self-defense and the overabundance of information available. I was looking at the EDC videos and all the special forces stuff that I watch. I mean, I'm a big fan of that stuff. I'm not going to lie. I love watching Jake Zwig's channel. Jake Zwig is a former Navy SEAL, and he has a great channel where he preps high school age kids, college age kids for special forces selection. So he talks about like the training, everything that these kids need to do in order to be selected and be successful. And I listen to that. I listen to a lot of the 2A space companies and all the guys who run these channels for, you know, everything from self-defense to personal protection to bushcraft. I mean, I'm balls deep, guys. I made a video yesterday about EDC. I think it was yesterday. What was yesterday? Yesterday was Wednesday, so I was at work. It was Tuesday. I made a video on Tuesday, and I talked about some of the misconceptions around the equipment that I personally carry, and it got me thinking about EDC in general. I think that we have a little bit of a problem in the community right now where there's just so much information out there, and a lot of it, I don't know if it's necessarily true or not. I don't want to piss anybody off. I don't want to anger anybody. I'm going to give you my opinion today. I'm going to give you my thoughts on EDC, my thoughts on personal protection and self-defense. Some of it, I think, is a little bit overblown. Okay. I think a lot of it has to do with marketing. I think a lot of it has to do with money. And I just want to talk about kind of the epiphany that I had over the past couple of days. Hopefully this video will help viewers understand the difference between real world self-defense needs versus marketing hype. All right. So let's talk about the overabundance of self-defense information. If you're in the 2A space, if you're into firearms, if you're into tactical training, you know, the number one thing that you hear about outside of firearms is jujitsu, right? I was listening to somebody talk about jujitsu the other day, and I was thinking to myself, in what reality do we really utilize jujitsu outside of like the sport aspect of it? You know, I was talking to one of my partners at work the other day. If we were to get into a situation where we're in a scuffle, if you're in a bar fight, if you're in some sort of fight on the street, is jujitsu something that you really want to use? I think that a lot of times people think about the benefits of the fighting system. And God, I mean, there's so many benefits, right? We all watch the UFC. We always watch like mixed martial arts competitions, but you know, that's being done in a sport environment. I think that we can find video after video of people grappling, utilizing self-defense techniques, definitely employing jujitsu. But here's the question I want to ask you guys, right? What reality outside of work? So take the fact that I work in security out of this equation. Okay. We're just talking about the everyday person. If you're not a cop, if you don't work in security, if you're not a bouncer, and if you don't go to certain places, what is the reality that you're going to actually get into a fight? Now, I want you to keep that in mind. I'm going to show you guys something here. All right. This is a very, very, very tiny knife. All right. I have not done a review on this knife. It is a CRKT. I don't even know what company that is. I got this for Christmas as a stocking stuffer. The CRKT, and it's called the Minimalist, and it says foil T design. And I think this is actually D2 or D10. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's D2 steel. That's supposed to be like a really good steel. But anyway, I got this tiny little knife as a stocking stuffer for Christmas. Okay. It's got a little sheath that goes with it like this, just like that. And if you put an ulti clip on this, like this is an actually good little pocket carry knife. I started thinking to myself, in what reality are you going to actually get into a fight? Now, If you are not working in an industry where you have to go hands-on with people, the only options for you to find yourself in a fight is if you get jumped, if you get mugged, right? If you're being robbed. And in any one of those situations, if the only thing that you had on you was this tiny little knife, right? And in that situation, clearly, if you're being jumped, you're being mugged, you're being robbed, more than likely that is a life-threatening situation. Like, think of it from the standpoint of you just being a normal, functioning adult. I personally am not going to get into a fight. Outside of work, I'm not fighting anybody. I'm not going to allow myself to get into a fight. I'm not going to get into an argument with people. Like, there's nothing that you're gonna say to me or do in my presence, short of putting your hands on me, that's going to lead me to getting into a physical altercation with you. So if someone has put their hands on me, if someone has grabbed me, if someone has tried to take me to the ground, I'm assuming that situation more than likely is a less than lethal or a lethal situation where something like this could be employed. Now, we can talk about all the tactics that come from, knife fighting. We can talk about all the tactics that come from, the various ways that you can train. But the truth is that something like this has been very successful in getting people off of other people and getting people to stop without using any sort of training techniques. The simple fact that you are stinging somebody with this or slashing someone with this small knife generally will work to get them to change their ways. Now, most people are taking out acts of aggression via crimes of opportunity, right? Most people are looking for the absolute weakest individual that they can attack. And we're making a generalization here. I know that you could say that's not the situation all the time. That's not every case. I get that. We're making a generalization here. But for me, I'm 275 pounds. I'm 6'2". It's highly unlikely in a normal situation, normal set of circumstances, that someone is going to try and attack me. And if they do, knowing that I have this, potentially having a firearm on me, is it necessary that I know jujitsu and get into a jujitsu match with someone on the ground? I think that that's kind of a misconception of how things go right now. What are some of the positive aspects of all the abundance of information that's out there? What kind of stuff do we have? Clearly, we have fighting information. There's tons of fighting techniques, fighting pages. There's classes that you can take. I mean, you can take these individual courses. I've taken some of those courses. I've gone to some of these big name 2A company courses. I've signed up for the jiu-jitsu classes I've taken at some of the big name places here in Portland. Another aspect of overabundance of information is everything with prep, with bushcraft, with survival, with understanding how to take care of yourself and your family if things were to fall apart. I guess we all saw in 2020 how important being able to provide for yourself, provide for your family when certain supply chains or things are shut down. That's clearly a positive, right? That increased awareness about self-defense and personal safety, it can't be understated, right? Very, very, very good information. However, there's an aspect of it that I think is just like so much tied to marketing. And the whole point of making this video is like, I'm sitting in a room. I said this in my other video the other day. I'm sitting in a room surrounded by shit. I think I'm going to start like hosting giveaways or doing raffles. Like I look over here, I probably have 17 knives. I've got a whole host of magazines and holsters. I'm not going to tell you what's on this other wall over here, but you probably get the point. I just have so much shit. And I think that it's all from buying into this idea of the need of EDC, right? The availability of a variety of training and tools for those that are interested. I mean, literally, you cannot throw a rock without finding a YouTube channel that has tactical training for firearms. I have gone down this deep dive of knives, and I've found that there's an even bigger platform base for people that are into knives, into EDC knives, even making your own knives. So, there's some definite negative drawbacks to that. And number one is going to be the overwhelming amount of information that can lead to confusion. I've wanted my wife to carry a firearm since the day that I met her. And I've tried really hard to explain to her and get across to her the importance of being protected. And I think that most men, if you're a guy watching this video right now, you've probably had that same conversation with your wife, maybe with your daughter, depending on if she's of age. You might have had this conversation with your mom or other women in your life. But once they start looking into the information, of what they need to carry, how they're going to have to carry it. You start talking about training, going to the range, understanding all of the laws that come along with carrying a firearm, where you can carry it. What do you do if you can't take it in somewhere? How do you keep it in your car? There's so much fucking information. And most of the time, most women, my wife included, they're just like, you know what? I'm out. I don't want to have to go down this road if it's going to be, a fucking, college semester of information of what I have to do, what I have to learn, what I have to need. And then on top of that, we're telling our wives, we're telling our daughters, and we're telling other people, on top of the fact that you have to damn near be a paralegal to understand where you can carry your firearm. Oh, by the way, now I want you to go to jiu-jitsu class, and you should start carrying a knife, and you should carry pepper spray, and you should, wear your firearm in a holster. Like, my wife does not want to wear a holster. She doesn't. Most women, based on the way that they dress, they don't want to wear a holster. I saw a video the other day where they were talking about how most men push new shooters and new female shooters to utilize a revolver. Now, you guys know how big of a fan of revolvers I am, right? And they were saying that most women should not shoot revolvers because they're, more difficult to get that double action trigger to pull. There's not enough round capacity. It's hard for them to aim. And I'm thinking to myself, that's all well and good if the people that we're talking about are going to put the time and the effort in to learn that weapon system. And most people, this is not just catered to women, but most people in general, if they're not a part of the two-way space, they're not a part of this tactical movement, this everyday carry movement, they're not going to put the time and the effort into it to be successful with it. So having a female that you want to be armed and protected in your family using a revolver, that's a much better system for a person that needs to be protected, but is not going to put the time behind it, right? The marketing tactics that exaggerate the need for certain products and services. I am a big believer in the definite benefit of things like tourniquets, but we've gotten to a point now where, there's certain companies out there, certain people that are pushing that you should have 2 tourniquets on you at all time. And again, remember, we're not talking about working in the security industry. I'm talking about people that carry tourniquets on their person every single day. Multiple tourniquets, a tourniquet on their body, a tourniquet in the fanny pack, 2 or 3 tourniquets in the car. I get the importance of it. I get the need of it. I get the benefit of having it. And God forbid I'm ever in a situation where I need it and I don't have it. But we are kind of in this space where you tend to have so much equipment. If you're into this, you tend to have so much equipment in your car, so much equipment on your body, so much equipment in a bag that it's just completely unrealistic. What are some of the realistic threats that are out there? For me, the most common threats that I feel that people are going to run into are going to be potentially home invasions, even though that is extremely low risk. If you're living in some more dangerous areas, that is an issue. Random violence. If you're out in public and you're just going about your day, you have no way to alleviate the fact that people do commit crime and people do horrible things. This is why I think that everyone should be armed. Everyone should have some form of protection. The issue is just, what protection do you need based on your situation? If you're not going places where you're realistically going to encounter people that are evil, going to encounter people that are dangerous, then you've already lowered the possibility of coming across those people. you can never get all the way down to zero. But I think that if you're making good choices, making good decisions about where you're going, what you're doing, and you're reasonably armed where you necessarily can be, I think you've put yourself in a pretty good situation. You have to understand that most people are not in daily danger if they avoid high risk environments, and that the importance has to be placed on situational awareness over extensive self-defense training. I wish that I could get more people to think that situational awareness was as cool as tactical training. You know, I've tried to get across to other security guards. I've tried to get across to other people in the tactical space the importance of situational awareness, the importance of de-escalation, the importance of being able to converse and talk and dialogue with people, and how important all of that is, well above having a firearm, having a knife, and being able to fight. I wish that someone way cooler than me could advocate for that and make that something that people gravitate towards. The problem is that the cool shit is going to always be the shit that puts you in more proximity to danger. Teaching people firearms, teaching people self-defense, teaching people, you know, how to utilize any sort of tool or weapon is always going to be more appealing than teaching someone how to see a situation, see a problem, and avoid that problem before getting involved. Most people enjoy the fuck around and find out mentality, and it's hard to get people to come off of that. The issue that I have with that is that over preparation for unlikely scenarios can lead to unnecessary anxiety. My wife would tell you that I suffer from over preparation anxiety. Before I leave to go anywhere, you know, I'm kitted. I've got my firearm, I've got my pepper spray, I've got one, if not two knives, and I'm always thinking about the potential of what we might run into. Now, you guys have been a part of this journey with me. I've gone back and forth from snub nose revolver to semi-automatic, back to the snub nose revolver. But I am personally aware and have experienced issues here where I know what the potential threat and danger is for me and for my family here in Portland. However, I do have to agree with her that once you get into the headspace of EDC, you get into the headspace of personal protection and preparation, I do think that you have a heightened sense of awareness, and that can come off as anxiety. And I think that some people probably do suffer from a little bit more preparedness anxiety than others. But I think that it's just that heightened awareness. I think that people that don't live and operate in that space, like security guards, law enforcement officers, military, that could create a bit of anxiety because you're always thinking about what the problem is going to be and how you're going to address it. The answer on how you address it clearly is better situational awareness. Again, I cannot stress this enough. The importance of understanding where you're going, what you're doing, who you're going to be around, and the key to avoiding dangerous situations before they even escalate. We had a situation, I think it was Mother's Day. I took my wife out to dinner on Mother's Day, and we go to this area it's a fairly nice, like downtown kind of town square area. It's outside of Portland. And the whole reason why we went there is because we wanted to avoid Portland. We go to her favorite Italian restaurant, and we go early. We're trying to beat the rush. Like, we don't want to have to, come home and deal with any sort of traffic. We go at like 2:30. And after we finish dinner, we go and we sit on this park bench. It's a beautiful scenario. We get ice cream. We're sitting on the park bench. And the second that we sit down and start eating our ice cream, we hear somebody from behind. Blah! Right? Crackhead comes out of nowhere, runs right over to my wife, kind of grabs right where she's sitting. And I immediately pull her up out of the seat. Now the bench is between he and us. And I turn and I'm like, go. I'm already sending her away from the situation and kind of preparing myself for whatever might happen. Was able to talk to the guy, de-escalate the guy, and get him to go across the street. But just being like aware to hear his screams and his voice well before he got over to us, and then make that immediate reaction to kind of get out of that situation way more important than anything else that we could have done. Her also understanding what her role is. When I say go, she knows to go. She doesn't ask questions. She doesn't argue. She moves. Very important. I think that we need to get to a point where we start to look at what is reasonable protection. And this is where I have some questions for you guys. Do you ever ask yourself, what is enough protection? Would something small like this be enough protection if you were in a suburban situation, not a demographic of people that are normally dangerous, right? You're not going to any bars. You're not going to any nightclubs. You're not putting yourself in any bad situations. You're not even going out after dark. So you're in a suburban area. Everybody, for the most part, gets along. Middle income, no illegal aliens or anything like that. Would you feel that this is enough protection? Would you be comfortable only having this, not having a firearm, not having a larger knife, just something of this nature? And I'm asking you guys a question. You can put in the comments if you would feel comfortable with that. And if not, why not? Do you feel that you have to have a firearm with you at all times? If you do, why? Do you feel that you have to have a larger knife with you at all times? If you do, why? Do you feel the need to know how to fight? And when I say know how to fight, I don't mean just fighting off of instinct. I mean physically trained to actually fight, whether that's jujitsu, whether that's boxing, whether that's Muay Thai, karate. And if so, why? Why do you feel that you would need to have that level of training? Why do you feel that you would need to have a firearm? Why would you need to have something bigger than this? And your situational awareness. The question is, what is reasonable? And I want to know what you guys think about that. What is a reasonable amount of force multipliers to have on you? The reality is, like I talked about in an earlier video where we were talking about non-permissive items, the reality is that sometimes in certain circumstances, you simply cannot be armed, right? You can't have your firearm. You can't have your pocket knife. You can't have a fixed blade. In those situations, what do? You still have to be able to go on vacation. You still have to be able to get on those planes. You still have to be able to go into your daughter's recital at a school. What do you do in that situation? If we're training ourselves to always feel that we have to have a force multiplier, that we have to have something on our body, at some point in time, that's not going to work out, right? How do you handle that situation? Do you guys feel that the EDC space right now has become an overabundance of information, of marketing, of tools, of items? Do you feel the need to purchase things simply so that you can keep up with the Joneses or make your Instagram look cool? Where do you guys fall on that, right? Let me know. This is kind of a therapy session. You guys share with me how you see it, what you're dealing with, how you feel about that. And maybe I'll get some insight from your thoughts and your comments. Please drop them in the comment section below. As always, thanks for joining me for this live stream. Watch your back, stay safe, and as always, be great. All right, y'all take care.
Shot for the round and mid deploy. Ran from a dollar kitchen slow. What? Nigga. No boyfriend, 4 for 1 to the project. I ain't young and street made the